Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch, is joining us on the line now. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
I'm very grateful for you joining us here this morning. We've been going through this opening statement from Jim Comey. I don't know. I've been looking at this and just thinking to myself, this is just a wonderful piece of creative writing. He's remembering details like how his facial expressions changed throughout the meetings, and maybe the individual beads of sweat that dripped from his brow, how many there were, and how many liters he managed to collect in his pocket. It's just this extraordinary, is what I'm saying, piece of text that seems to speak to how differently he treated President Trump from President Obama from the outset, rather than President Trump starting that relationship himself on a stranger note. What struck you most about this testimony that Mr. Comey will recite later on today?
Well, that's an adept version. Analysis I was expecting to read about is Madeline's in the testimony as well.
A Proust joke.
How is it that there is a special counsel investigation? How is it that there are still people talking about impeachment? How is it there's frankly any hearings? This is gossip. The FBI director was appropriately fired. The president was accurate in describing what went on. He didn't tell him to drop an investigation. He gave him his opinion and thought maybe you should consider doing it. He didn't say you need to do it, you should drop it. No, he didn't do anything like that. And who initiated the first meeting one-on-one? It's terrible for the president or the president-elect to meet with the FBI director, we're told. Well, who initiated the first meeting? It was Mr. Comey. And why did he do it? Because he wanted to talk about the Russian investigation with President Trump on a one-on-one meeting. And now Trump is being excoriated for having subsequent one-on-one meetings. And
do you think, Tom, that this testimony,
gossip, it's not substantive at all in terms of policy and governing?
This is his college diary. I mean, this is his journal. He might as well have hearts in the margins with HRC in them or whatever it is. Tom, when I read this, I can't help but notice its incredible level of specificity for things that don't matter, and he's glossing over the big things that do matter, the questions that do need answering. And one might argue that's because he can't necessarily comment on those things in an open situation like the Senate Intelligence Committee. Or it might be the case, do you think, maybe, I don't know, is he perhaps intimidated by that tweet that President Trump sent once upon a time that said he better hope there are no tapes of our conversations?
Yeah, he's very careful not to accuse the president of necessarily doing anything wrong. He obviously doesn't like the president. For instance, he doesn't talk about his disgust that he supposedly had for the president that he told another friend who reported on it. And it's also interesting that he didn't tell Siberians about some key aspects of these meetings that if they were so controversial and damning, you would have presumed that he would have. The document is careful to talk about all the meetings and the descriptors, as you point out, but he doesn't assign ill motive to the president. He really doesn't assign him doing anything wrong. In fact, the president comes across as someone upset that his name is being smeared in the media by government officials, and no one's out there defending him.
I wonder if he's been reading some Hemingway or something before he wrote this. I'm just going to read you a couple of passages here. The president signaled at the end of the briefing by thanking the group, signaled the end of the meeting by briefing by thanking the group and telling them that he wanted to speak with me alone. I stayed in my chair. As the participants started to leave the Oval Office, the Attorney General lingered by my chair, but the president thanked him and said he wanted to speak only with me. The last person to leave the room was Jared Kushner, who also stood by my chair and exchanged pleasantries pleasantries with me. The president then excused him, saying he wanted to speak with me. When the door by the grandfather clock closed and we were alone, the president began by saying, I want to talk about Mike Flynn. You know, it's a wonderful John le Carre novel, right? But it's not what I would have expected after this large amount of build-up about how this is going to be, you know, the shocker killer moment for the Trump administration. As one of my colleagues wrote on Breitbart.com last night, this is a nothing burger. Tom, is this a nothing burger?
Well, it's a nothing burger in terms of misconduct by President Trump. It confirms that President Trump was concerned that his was told 3 times that he wasn't under investigation, and was right to be angry and frankly still upset about the fact that both Comey, the FBI, and of course everyone else in town suggested he was the target of a criminal investigation. And he wasn't. He wasn't the target of anything. And yet...
Do we suspect that this might draw a line under it?
Draw a line under the fact he's not the target of an investigation? Oh, no.
Well, draw a line under the entire level of attacks. I mean,
to ask an employee of the federal government, are you going to be loyal to me? And at the end, they agree, yes, I'm going to give you honest loyalty.
Right. I still can't believe right now, I really can't believe that CNN's coverage of this yesterday after this document came out, it's Chris Cillizza, the CNN editor at large. The headline is James Comey just went nuclear on Donald Trump. I don't see a semblance of nuclear information in this document. And so what I really want to know is where the opponents to this administration go, where the opponents to the truth go after this. Surely now they have to let this go.
Well, you know, between this and the testimony yesterday by the senior intelligence officials that the president did not pressure him, no one in the White House pressured them to do anything related to any investigation, you have to wonder what's going on now in terms of why it is we have this wasteful special counsel investigation, why it is these congressional bodies continue to so-called investigate the so-called Russian connection. Even the president said, look, you know, if you want to find out who my aides were talking to, or satellite people, as he called it, I think, called them, if there were Russian connections, yeah, we should know that. But beyond that, I'm not sure what all the hubbub is about.
All the hubbub appears to be using the apparatus of the state and the taxpayer-funded resources to attack a president on the basis of saying, I hope and I want your honest loyalty. It doesn't seem like the big smoking gun that everybody thought it was going to be. Tom, I know you need to get out, so
it was just
final word to you.
He didn't talk about how his meeting notes were leaked. He didn't talk about how classified information was leaked. It's interesting what he doesn't talk about: the FBI's involvement in the unmasking of Americans, or the surveillance of Americans, and whether that was appropriate or not, both the surveillance, the unmasking, and the leaking. What was his knowledge of that? Who did he show in the FBI? Who else in the FBI leadership knew about these meetings? Who else in the Justice Department knew about these meetings? Who on the outside knew about these meetings? I hope we get some answers there today from the hearings.
Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch. Please visit Judicial Watch's website. Check out all of the work they do. Tom, thank you so much for joining us here on Breitbart News Daily.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.